So just when we think that Kotaku can't be in any deeper doo-doo than they already are, we get the entire script flipped on us, and a new reality is beginning to hit all over social media because it looks like Kotaku may actually be going down, just from the observations that I have made. Ever since that article for Kotaku came out in defense of Sweet Baby Inc., vilifying gamers everywhere that weren't in line with what they were thinking, things have not been going well, both for the writer Alyssa Mercanti and for Kotaku as a whole, and even former writers like Ash Parrish, who now work for The Verge, but used to work for Kotaku. But this situation has become even worse because, as per Grums here, shout out to Grums, he actually followed me. Seems like my reporting is being noticed. Definitely made my day. But let's read this. Here is the quick rundown on Kotaku. Jen Glennon, editor-in-chief, tweets she has resigned. So this is the editor-in-chief of Kotaku. Now, why did she resign? Mad Kotaku writers spilled the beans they must dump news and write gaming guides. Former Kotaku head Nathan Grayson tells us 7 writers left must churn out 50 guides per week. So I couldn't tell at first if he was saying that 7 writers left the business or they only had 7 writers left. Either way, it's not looking good. But if you only have to write 50 guides per week and you play video games, honestly, if you're a gamer like me or a gamer like anybody else, you know who you are. Pushing out guides for video games is not too difficult, especially if that is your job. But these people are not happy about it. Alyssa Mercanti and Ash Parrish, they are not happy about it. And we're going to take a look at what they said in response. But let's read this. Extremely proud of Jen for taking this ethical stance in response to profoundly misguided anti-journalism edicts from G/O Media Management. This is from Carolyn Petit. This is in support of the editor-in-chief leaving. So again, she left because the guy in charge of Kotaku is trying to pivot what kind of stories they tell. This could very possibly be because of the backlash that Kotaku has been getting, and Alyssa Mercanti in particular, but a lot of people are claiming, well, it's just because of the state of entertainment and gaming and layoffs, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But we know what this is about. And then you have the employees who are speaking out against Kotaku, like while they're working there, which is really unprofessional. But even if you were to just leave the company and then talk a bunch of smack, that would be unprofessional too. But this person who works or used to work there says, you know what, F it, here's a small cup of tea. Management doesn't even care about the quality of the guides. They want us to aggregate them from other sites, like a literal content mill. That they're destroying people's livelihoods gags me. Not in the good way. Is there a good version of gagging? Dude, these people are weird. Sometimes I don't know how to respond to that, man. According to a source close to the situation, Kotaku's staff will be expected to create 50 guides a week at the site. I mean, honestly, think about that, guys. Does that sound difficult to you? Especially if like the work is split. So it's split amongst the 7 writers. So let's say that, 7 writers for 50 guides, maybe, 5 or 6 articles per week per person. That doesn't sound too difficult. Kotaku's homepage features a prominent game tips and guides module at the top of the page in a space that was previously reserved for major stories and breaking news. So that spot's been replaced, and staff members have criticized the homepage redesign on social media, noting that Kotaku's major source of traffic is not guides, while your major source of traffic is also not the truth, since a number of your Kotaku writers have been lying in their articles, pretty much just making stuff up about gamers, making it all about race and bigotry. This is a huge issue. And if that's the reason why they're pivoting, it doesn't surprise me one bit. And there are reactions to this. You have the employee herself, Alyssa Mercanti. She's speaking out against this. I actually have no idea if she even still works at Kotaku. So Alyssa says this: the fact that leadership wanted to aggressively pivot what Kotaku does in the midst of a harassment campaign levied against me and the site for an original piece of reporting that was the second most read story for over a week is telling, mama. And then she goes on to say, oh, it drove industry-wide conversation and is still driving it. But what about how to get coins in Super Mario 64? Well, to be honest with you, I would much rather learn about how to get coins in Super Mario 64. But I doubt that Alyssa has even played that game. But there's a lot of doubt that I feel when reading her comments here. She says that there's a harassment campaign levied against her and the site, which is not true. People are just talking about the things that these people are saying and the defense that they're running for Sweet Baby Inc. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that these writers make the entire situation about themselves. Like, how dare you pivot what we do at my job that you hired me for. How dare you change what we do when I'm going through so much personal turmoil? It's all about them. You know, maybe it's because there's so much bad PR for Kotaku that there's just no possible way they can survive this Sweet Baby Inc. ordeal unless there is radical change within the business. And I know that a lot of people have already given up on Kotaku as an outlet for gaming news. I gave up on them a long time ago. The fact that they're pivoting now, probably only because there's huge backlash and that their hand is being forced, basically. I don't even know if I should be cheering on Kotaku for finally making a change within their business, because for years they have been spreading nonsense and lies and painting gamers and white gamers, especially, for some strange reason as these villains. Okay, I remember reporting on these guys back in the day when I was still doing Rings of Power Season 1 videos. They were just as tone deaf and racist as they are now. They had a huge problem with Final Fantasy VII's Barrett in that game, and that there was not appropriate black representation, which is something that IGN recently parroted with Resident Evil 5. But these dudes have always been bad, and only now they're gonna change. But hey, you know, I guess some people just don't like playing video games, because if it were me, I mean, I would love a job playing video games and then writing guides about them. I would write the most articles out of everybody all week, but these people are ungrateful. That's why they go on social media and blast their own employers, because they're unprofessional, they're immature, they're adults acting like children, and a lot of them are lying outright to most people that they conversate with, saying that Brutus is guilty and Sweet Baby Inc. and Kotaku are innocent. They take zero accountability for their actions. It's funny because I actually quoted her tweet on my own page when I said original piece of reporting in quotations and a capital LOL, but I never got a response from her because she blocked me. Again, it's the same old thing as it's been for a while now. When these people are confronted, even slightly, in fact, I didn't even say anything bad. I was rather tame. Now, I wonder if she's watched my content from previous videos, in which case, then it would kind of make sense why she finally decided to block me now that she found me, because I quoted her and revealed myself. But then I had people comment on my post being blocked for no reason at all, just for the fact that they even talked to her. So you can't even talk to these people without them blocking you and erasing themselves from your lives completely so that you can't confront them about any of this. And she's going on to podcasts and she's telling people these dishonest things, saying that Kabrutus and his kin were the ones responsible for this entire ordeal and that it's Gamergate 1.0. She's supportive of Ash Parrish's article, where Ash Parrish is basically just calling people a bunch of racists and bigots. It still amazes me that Alyssa Mercanti called that article stellar reporting, especially since it was just a conflation of multiple ideas to try and paint a picture that this one group of people were doing all of these things when that wasn't true or verified in any way, shape, or form. But this is the kind of people that we're dealing with. So he wants them to write articles, and now they're mad because they have to play games and write articles. So a bunch of them have quit. There's only 7 writers left. I mean, can Kotaku even survive this situation? A lot of people think that Kotaku is done. Personally, I think that either Kotaku will survive this or they won't. And I actually tweeted about that. Because they will. They will either survive it or they won't, and they'll be done. Because if people aren't willing to do their jobs and they're not willing to pivot away from their ideologies for the sake of actual reporting, doing your job and being a professional, then I don't know if there's going to be a Kotaku by the end of 2024. And just to confirm that there are 7 writers left, this is from Packer Girl, shout out. She has really good reporting, which Grums shared with all of his followers. Aftermath co-founder and reporter Nathan Grayson reports, Geo Media has effectively forced Kotaku to pivot away from news and allegedly demanding that its staff of 7 writers churn out an impossible number of guides per week. So they say it's an impossible number. I was being reasonable with the numbers. If the suggestion is that these people are trying to get Kotaku shut down by giving them way too much work, more work than they can handle, that would actually be hilarious. And if that's a fact and that's true, then it speaks to the pendulum swing. It speaks to the voice that gamers have, pushing back against this nonsense and against these lying articles that do not tell the truth and they paint false narratives. These gamers are pushing back on that, and now the heads of these organizations are finally starting to take notice. Now, if that's the case, and that's why these writers are lashing out and insulting Kotaku and insulting their superiors, well, then I guess that's kind of funny and a little bit wholesome, honestly. It gives me a little bit of the warm and fuzzies, I'll say that much. Because if you give people too much work, they're not going to be able to push that work out, and then they're probably going to get fired, laid off. In which case, they're not going to have any writers left. But I think that this has been a long time coming. Kotaku has been a seriously ineffective news outlet for many years, and most of the time, their articles are fueled by hatred and racism and bigotry of all sorts. The targets are white males. Why? I couldn't tell you, but what I can tell you is that this is bad news for Kotaku. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't had the chance to share it with your friends and hit that like button, that would be awesome. And hey, if you're feeling ultra spicy, consider subscribing to my channel so that you're always up to date on what kind of thing I've got going on. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Later. Meow meow.